Hey y'all, so first war of season 30 here. We got matched up against Salty, where we actually have or I actually have a couple friends and have had friends in the past as well. Great alliance, but honestly, when I saw that we got matched with them, this one wasn't really fair. We have learned in the past not to underestimate alliances with smaller rosters, and we approach this that same way. But nonetheless, this was a fairly significant mismatch. And so, spoiler alert, we did pull out on top. But they did a great job, and the defense was really well done. We had to consider a few odd things before everything kind of clicked, which you might have been able to tell by my team, which has no Reed, no Torch, no Killmonger. I have used Guardian a fair amount recently, but it's been a while since Tigra has made sense, and Herc I pulled during the off season, so he's brand new. Unfortunately, there were also a couple issues with recording that I'm going to let you know right now. Um, Total brain fart where I turned off the recording after my second fight to go duel, which was great, and forgot to turn it off before my third and fourth fight. And then I remembered to turn it on for my fifth and sixth fights, but ran out of storage halfway in between. So yeah, I will discuss what those fights are when we get there, but slightly shorter war. I do have a bonus fight at the end though that another BG mate sent me, so keep an eye out for that. So first fight here is Nova. Herc is a great counter because he gets past the auto block, but he gets past the auto block without using True Strike, which is really important because if you hit Nova while you have True Strike up, you do 70% less damage and give him a ton of charges, and then he goes unblockable. It's a bad time. But Herc is one of the best ways to get around his auto block without needing to rely on debuffs, which is obviously important for this node because he goes debuff immune when you knock him down. So, you saw there at the very beginning, I baited a heavy to retaliate against it and get 2 feats of strength. And then, same thing, I countered the special one, going for the same thing. I think I literally dueled this for like 3 minutes before going in and was getting the special evades perfectly, but of course, that one didn't quite take, and so now I've lost my indestructible boost. Not ideal. Additionally, way too far away on that one. Um, yeah, just not great. Like I said, I did practice this quite a bit, but that one just got away from me. Yeah, the spacing was off and I should have realized it. So he is up to 5 high ground charges, thanks to me losing my combo, 6 here, so I basically can't block now. That's okay though, because I know I'm doing plenty of damage. I have 8 feats of strength. I do not need to land another heavy. He will eventually give me openings just by dashing forward, gaining power, and eventually throwing additional special ones. As long as I get the full evade and hit him with them and throw my specials, there's not much to this fight. So I did make a mistake there, but I also want to point out that after that very first heavy and maybe the second one, I could have and probably should have just played the way I did for the last 50% of his health there. Just totally played it safe, and Herc would have done plenty of damage. I mean, he's ridiculous. Anyway, on to Maw. This is a fight that has kind of historically usually been taken with Torch. I think I even took it with Torch last season. But the interaction with High Ground and Incinerate means that if you're going to take a High Ground champion with Torch, you kind of need to either not be blocking or use the pre-fight, and that means the pre-fight can't be used elsewhere. Additionally, Torch didn't really make sense with my paths, so I brought Guardian again. I've done this basic matchup before, and this exact fight had been taken in BG2 by my friend Work in Progress recently, so I knew this was a good counter. Additionally, look how even when he has an altitude charge, I only take 148 damage, and not 750. So the energy resistance is really coming in clutch there. I was expecting to take one degen. I was expecting it to hit harder, honestly, but I'm not complaining. That's going to be easy to heal up. Doing really well. We won't have another degen unless we miss or he power steals, so basically as long as I'm careful, I'm fine. I was okay pushing him to that because, you know, he'll just throw it and Guardian will block it and the block proficiency won't be a problem. So because it had been a little bit since we knocked him down, we do get the falter there. Avoid that so that we don't get that second degen. This is a slow fight for Guardian because I'm burning up force field charges to knock him down to keep everything else safe and to get rid of the protection. But that's okay. Even with multiple high ground incidents and blocking a special 2 and triggering a degen, we ended at over 80%. No problem. So here I'm going to talk about the fights that I do not have video of. The next one was Apocalypse on Mixmaster, node 23, that mini in the middle. Guardian crushed it. I mean, you can just parry medium light the whole way. You can hit into his block, do medium light, and then his specials do essentially no damage because I was staying on top of my parry timing, and so I would perfect block the first 2 hits of his special 1, dash out of the last hit. The node has power focus 1 on it, so I didn't really need to worry about his special 2. It was an incredibly easy fight. The one thing that I did need to do was make sure that I threw a heavy before throwing my special 2. Because if you're not familiar with how Guardian works, the massive damage he does on his special 2 uses up his armor up. And if he doesn't have an armor up, then he loses a whole bunch of abilities. His block proficiency, his energy resistance, his ability to perfect block specials. And so I had to hold on to all of that. So you throw a heavy, burn a couple force field charges, so the special does a little bit less damage, but in return you use up the temporary armor up and keep the permanent one, so you keep all your tankiness. Very important. The weird thing is, I did that intentionally with the Apocalypse fight. The next fight was Havok on node 24, the EMP modification mini-boss. And for some reason, I think I was quite tired on Thursday. That's not an excuse, but I think it is the reason. I should have probably napped before doing war, or something along those lines. But for all those reasons that I just said, it was important to hold on to the armor up so that I could fight Apocalypse better after throwing my special 2, assuming it didn't kill him. That's even more important against Havok, because if you throw Guardian's special 2, it will shock Havok and cause him to rapidly burn through a bunch of plasma, and if you don't have an armor up on you, it will detonate. Well, I had a total brain fart, threw my special 2 without throwing a heavy beforehand, and Havok detonated on me 3 times in 2 seconds. That actually didn't kill me, but I was under assassin's range at that point, and I wasn't able to dance properly, and it got away from me. So that was a really, really ugly death, because it was 100% my fault, and purely execution. The matchup was excellent. I didn't even need to use specials. I would have won on basics, but I botched it. The next 2 fights were Captain Marvel Movie and Nimrod on Path 2B, those new strike counter nodes that have the block penetration if you don't play around the nodes properly, and then also can put disorient on you. Those are the ones where the recording just failed due to storage space, but they were flawless. I power start 1 for both of them, and I was able to just, heavy counter Captain Marvel Movie a couple times, and then she threw a special 1. I evaded that, heavy countered it. I was at my special 2, and the special 2 ended the fight. It just did an incredible amount of damage because I already had like 9 ruptures up. So then obviously I still had the gray boost active for the next fight, which was Nimrod. And same idea there. Tigra can heavy counter him even though the first two don't land. You don't really need to worry about it because the third does. That helps you keep your senses up, all that kind of jazz. And then it's actually very easy for her to heavy after his special one. So you keep your ruptures up that way. You just need to watch for the power lock that he inflicts. And so you just have to wait a little bit before you can safely throw your special one or two. But that's all I had to do. I think I threw a special two and then a special one, and it was over. Very good matchup there. Then, we had originally assigned this boss to a Sorcerer Supreme, but we called an audible, and after quite a bit of dueling, decided that I should end up taking it with Hercules. And I do want to talk about this a little bit. So the thing about Herc versus Mags is that you are going to need to intercept. And that means that we should take a second to talk about what kind of intercepts are safe in that fight, because Magneto's AI is awful. It's incredibly annoying. It will cause all kinds of problems. He loves to just idle forward and then hit you in the face with a light attack. There are ways around that though, and you'll see a number of them at play here. Sometimes with Hercules, the best play is actually light intercepts. I don't think that's true for Magneto. It's something about the way the hitboxes line up with Magneto's medium. When I was practicing backdraft light intercepts, as in a incomplete combo, dash backwards, and then throw a light, I was getting hit. There's probably a timing that's good for that, but as soon as I get hit even once on a backdraft light, I try to look for alternatives because that tells me that the window is a little tight, and I don't consider myself that consistent. Mediums were working quite well for me, but backdraft mediums bring with them the risk that you are then committing to the move. So I try to mix those up with other ways of finding openings, because I also find that if I just do backdraft medium a bunch against the AI, they eventually catch on and smack me in the face. So one thing with Magneto is his heavy, right? Often it's difficult to attack into that heavy because of the unstoppable. But there are basically 4 possible timings for you to counter that heavy. One is too early, he'll still have the unstoppable up, and it'll just trigger and he'll smash you in the face. Then there's a small spot where he hasn't been able to recover yet, and you can hit him. I used to do this all the time with Torch, and it's what I aim to do with Hercules. But the reason it's so safe with Hercules is because the third window is when he has just enough time not to dash back, but to block, and therefore he can parry you. This can be very dangerous with somebody like Torch or Claire, and I have run into that in the past. But Hercules, as long as you get even a single feat, and I had used him earlier on the map, so I started with 3, Hercules is stun immune. So it's safe to hit in there where it might be risky with somebody else, and then you just have to make sure you're not late enough that he can dash back and punish you. Also notice the timing or the spacing that I did for that special 1 punish. I don't dash back at first when he throws it. See, here it is again. And then I dash back and I'm able to punish the projectile. So between that, being able to punish his special 1, getting those 2 different kinds of reliable openings, both the backdrafts and punishing his heavy, and then just mixing in straight up intercepts, I was able to get enough openings to do my damage without just resorting to a single trick. Because in my experience, when you just do the same thing over and over again, that's when the AI tends to compensate and switch things up, and that's when you tend to die. So I did accidentally block a special 1 there, but things had gone well enough up until then that it didn't really matter. This fight looks pretty easy because Magneto is playing ball, but the point that I want to make is that I did a lot of duels beforehand to figure out how to make Magneto play ball. And that's something that I would recommend to anyone else taking this. because I have seen versions of that exact fight that are not nearly as clean. So whenever you're prepping for a fight like this where you have to do anything fancier than parry and combo or parry heavy, try to think about not just where the safe openings are, but why they're safe and what you are doing to make sure they're safe. And what might you do that would make them less safe? Consider all those facets of a fight like this, and it becomes that much easier. So I'm not even going to comment on this last fight from Ash, the newest member of BG3, because I don't think there's much to say about it. But it's just another Guardian fight. We actually assigned 2 Guardians this war because we have them. And I think this will show to you why he's in the top tier in my Essentials videos. And I'll go ahead and link those again in the description. Enjoy, and I will see y'all next time. Take care.